to prison for life. Thanks so much for staying with us for the Pix 11 News at 10. I'm Heidi John. Tab sent us a night off.
I'm John Muller. That man, Joey FAMA, remains in maximum security lockdown, but he now has some big legal names advocating for him and has evidence that he says should let him go free. Evidence being seen by the public for the very first time right now. James Ford interviewed FAMA one-on-one behind bars, and James joins us now with this exclusive story. James.
A jury convicted FAMA in the shooting death of Yusuf Hawkins, which happened 27 years ago this month. But he was not convicted of actually shooting the gun that killed the black teen in a racist mob scene. There was key material the jurors were never allowed to see that FAMA and advocates for him believe could help lead to the person they say is the actual killer in a case that set off a powder keg of racial tension. That's what happened to a Pix 11 News live truck when rioting broke out. What set the whole scene off? The verdict in the murder of 16-year-old Yusuf Hawkins. You may recall he went to Bensonhurst in August 1989 with 3 black friends to look at a used car. A mob of white teens attacked them, thinking they were a group of blacks romantically connected to a white girl from the neighborhood. Gunshots rang out, leaving Yusuf Hawkins dead. 18-year-old Joey FAMA was the accused gunman. 9 months later, he was convicted of second-degree murder, not for firing the shot, but for being at the scene and responsible for what happened. And after serving more than 25 years of a life sentence, FAMA says he's fighting for justice for Hawkins and for himself.
You know, nobody knows the truth. Why wouldn't the judge and the DA show that tape to the jurors? I mean, why were they hiding the truth?
FAMA asked me to come to Clinton Correctional Institution upstate to talk about a key piece of evidence that he says could get him acquitted.
When you say you knew at the time that parts of it weren't true, what was it that wasn't true?
That I saw Joey FAMA shoot Yusuf Hawkins.
At FAMA's trial, Franklin Ty was the key witness against him. Ty said under oath he was the only person who saw Joey FAMA shoot and kill Yusuf Hawkins. But there was one problem.
Did you actually see the shooting?
No.
Days after testifying that he'd witnessed FAMA commit murder, Ty voluntarily took back everything he'd said on the stand.
What kind of medication are you on at the present time?
Lithium. Trolifon.
Ty acknowledged he was released from a psychological treatment facility just days before the fatal shooting, and he said that detectives pressured him to link FAMA to the crime.
Well, one police officer, he got nasty to me. He was kicking the table, pounding on the table. He was getting all upset. And they were calling me liar, and they were calling me all other kinds of words.
They held him at the precinct for 9 hours.
There was times saying that I wasn't going to be leaving.
Did they tell you why?
Yes.
What did they say?
Because I had to sign something.
An eyewitness statement, he says he did it right.
Well, I know in my head that parts of it wasn't true. But they told me, as I said, I couldn't go home unless I signed that.
FAMA's attorney at the time tried to get the video before the jury, but the judge ruled against it. Ty's eyewitness statement, along with those of jail inmates Robert Russo and Charles Brown claiming FAMA confessed to them behind bars, sealed the deal. But FAMA says those inmates routinely made such claims in exchange for leniency.
Look what I'm accused of, and Charles Brown's African American. Why would I confess to him?
The district attorney's office knew what the police were bringing him. Okay, and to put it honestly, it was crap.
Private investigator J. Salpeter specializes in getting wrongfully convicted people exonerated.
Joey FAMA was in prison with one of my exonerees, a fellow named Martin Tankleff.
Tankleff, you may recall, was convicted in one of New York's most notorious cases, the killings of his parents on Long Island. He'd served 17 years for the crime that Salpeter proved Tankleff did not commit. Now, the high-profile private eye says it's time to do the same for his client, Joey FAMA, and for the Hawkins family.
Miss Hawkins deserves to have the right person in jail.
We went to the home of Yusuf Hawkins' mother, Diane. She did not want to go on camera, but told me off camera she's convinced FAMA is her son's killer. FAMA's lawyer disagrees.
Some of the prosecutors missed several leads that could have explained that there was someone else who had committed this crime.
The district attorney at the time, Charles Heinz, has had an epidemic of wrongful convictions. As the New York Times put it, 20 people so far that Heinz prosecuted have had their convictions vacated. FAMA's lawyer and investigator hope he'll be number 21. They set up this anonymous tip line, 516-660-6753.
The tip line has actually solved every one of my exoneration cases.
Because an appeals court years ago said Ty's confession issue carried little weight, the office of current DA Ken Thompson has indicated that in order to revisit FAMA's case, new information would have to emerge. FAMA is hoping it will come on the tip line soon. FAMA told me that the most important thing to him is to get out from these prison walls and embrace in person his closest and most important supporters, his parents.
Whatever remaining life they have left, I'd like to be there with them.
Now, there's much more on this story at pix11.com, right at the top of our homepage, including how FAMA and hip-hop legend Tupac Shakur became friends behind bars, in part because Tupac was convinced of FAMA's innocence. And once again, that anonymous tip line number is 516-660-6753. That's it right there. It is possible that FAMA is the gunman, says Hawkins' mother. But his advocacy team believes there are people out there who know that someone else did it. An answer they say Hawkins' mother deserves to know definitively. John and Katie?
It's a fascinating story, James. To be continued. Thank you. Well, a local grandma's gone viral for cursing out an alleged perv who was fondling himself on a train this week. Deanna Carter, captured on cell phone video, she's publicly shaming the man she accused of touching himself on the 3 train. She laid into the guy very hard, forced him to get off the train at the next stop, and the man who's completely embarrassed obeyed.